Greetings and welcome back. Today, we're going to take a look at the 2 remaining Spongebob movie license video games that I happen to own.
I really wanted to do all in one episode, but realized that there was just too much to talk about for each individual video game. Such a shame. Oh well, what can you do?
Apart from making a 2 to 3 hour long episode. Anyway, let's take a look at Spongebob the movie, the game, first on Game Boy Advance. Now the Spongebob movie might be one of the greatest movies ever created based on a cartoon. And the video game? Well, let's just take a look.
I could use my Game Boy Play on the GameCube, and I also have the SNES one, but for simplicity and convenience, I'll use Retron 5.
It's because it's just so convenient.
Just like any other video game, it starts off with the logo THQ, Nick Games, and this time around someone called Way Forward Games.
They have created such classics as Mighty Switch Force, Shantae, and of course, a shit ton of Barbie games.
Anyway, let's just start the game. We're greeted to a screen that says new game and password. Yeah, this is Game Boy Advance.
You would think that would be more advanced, right? But no, there is still games that uses password.
And if you are too young to know what I mean, let me explain. Back in the early days of gaming, most video games did not have a save function as it was difficult and probably expensive to include. And that is why they decided for longer games such as Mike Tyson's Punch-Out or Mega Man to include a password system.
Most of the time they were simple and easy to use and got a bit more advanced as time moved on.
But in some cases, they were miles long, made little to no sense, did not exclude either upper or lower cases or numbers, making it difficult to remember what you did write down. So, out of curiosity, let's take a look at SpongeBob's password system.
Is this a joke? They made the faces from the movie the actual password system? Yeah, good luck writing that down.
I might mention as a kid I actually did have a password book, a book solely used to write down passwords from different games that I owned, such as Mega Man and, well, Crazy Castle. After you press new game, since we don't have a password yet, we greeted to difficulty setting.
Since I really couldn't care less and honestly just want to show you the game without too much effort, let's pick easy.
After we have selected the difficulty, we are right on the map of the game. Looks familiar? Yeah, it should. It's the same style as Mario 3 on NES. And worth mentioning, that background... it gives me a nausea. Anyway, let's try out World 1-1 Bikini Bottom. You'll quickly notice that the controls are okay-ish, a bit slow, but that's probably because I use a HD TV to play on. Other than that, it's self-explanatory. You use A to jump, B to run, D-pad to move and duck, and the R button to dash.
You know, basic stuff.
Other thing I found weird while playing the game is that already in stage 1 you are attacked by chump zombies. Or whatever they call them in the movie. If you defeat these enemies, you'll get this stupid sound. But if you instead get hit, you'll get this stupid sound. Either way, I guess you just can't win. As you progress through the stages, you'll have to be creative with the controls. For instance, some places you have to duck in order to get through. Usually, this is self-explanatory, and it is in this game too, but it feels really sluggish and you sort of have to wait half a second before pressing a direction. Else SpongeBob just, well, walks away. Another thing you'll stumble across on your way is rocks. You'll have to break with either ground pound or dash, depending on the block's position, of course.
The only thing I found odd though is that even if you only break 2 of them, the rest also disappears.
This leaves you in that situation where you break one of them only to find out later that you could have gotten a 1-up if you didn't. Well, the game isn't that long. 4 levels including a boss and 6 overworlds.
So, half a Mario game.
Once in a while you meet these giant clans, probably from that episode featuring a giant clam. There's only 2 ways of defeating these. First way is to dash them if you can distance yourself enough. The other one is through a special attack performed by pressing L. As you play the game, you'll notice you racked up quite the clam count, and yes, it is a substitute for Mario coins.
Yeah, that's funny. Mario collect coins, Sonic collect rings, and SpongeBob collect clams.
These clams though, instead of being used for score, they can be traded in for sweet 1-ups or special attacks. Yeah, you have a limited amount of those.
It makes sense, and yet, it could have been better.
Instead of stars, they have mustaches. Instead of flags, they have anchors as checkpoints. I might say this is rather funny. And instead of fire flowers, they have buckets of water for power-ups. Okay, the last one is not exactly a rip-off, but you get the idea. Next, let's talk about some more unfair levels. The first thing to talk about is simply hills.
And you might be thinking, hills? What the hell, man? Just get over them and far away, right? But no, let me show you.
Every time you're on a hill, the camera decides to spasm out like a rejected earthquake simulator. That is a thing in Japan. But this jittering camera fuck just makes your eyes hurt, your stomach hurl, and your brain begging for an actual Mario game.
Okay, the last one might not entirely be the hill's fault.
Time to look at bosses. We of course has the first one, Fogfish. Remember that guy who stole the Krabby Wagon? Yeah, that is him. Which begs the question, if you beat him here, how come he stole the wagon anyway?
Who cares? These movie license games either follow the movies too tightly or they don't follow them at all. I guess this one might be the latter.
Before we look at the boss, let me show you this stage. Noticed anything?
It's completely level! Leveled. I mean, you have to walk from left to right with minimum platforming and minimal effort. It's actually embarrassing to watch and play.
I know it's inside the bar, but really, look at that bar in Wayne's World, the game, that at least had platforming.
Which could be an entire video debate, how to make a platforming bar level. But instead, let's move on to the boss.
Next boss is Fuck Talk Fuck.
Rolls right off the tongue and doesn't sound inappropriate at all when a foreigner tries to say it.
Anyway, now might be a good time to say that they added some cutscenes in good old pictures and text style. You know, so you do remember it's the movie you're playing. Some of them looks okay-ish, while others not so much. The Fuck Talk Fuck calls our heroes babyface baby heads. I could have sworn it was bubble-blowing babies in the movie. Oh well.
The boss is rather easy like most things in this game. Just dodge his attacks and jump on his head. Holy shit! This guy is awesome! Play some heavy metal over that!
Once you beat him, he makes this weird pose and expression. Next up is World 3, and usually I would show the boss here, which is Granny by the way. But here is where the game gets douchey. In World 3 we got to see these skeleton pillars drop and rise. Okay, easy enough to avoid, just, well, wait till they rise and move. Moving on to World 3-4. Oh, more moving pillars. Great. What the hell? Oh shit, I gotta move quick. Damn, what the hell, man?
This is bullshit. Seriously, who thought that this was a good idea?
You know, games usually get you accustomed to mechanics such as, well, the swamp moves up and down, the water rises in Sonic, and so on and so forth. But rarely do they give you one mechanic only to change it up in the next stage. Imagine in Mario if World 2 instead of giving you points, the coins kills you. That would be ass.
Oh, and by the way, the entire stage is like this. Seriously, I would have been fine had it been crumbling rocks or lava or something like that. Not the skeleton pillar.
Next up is the boss. The lady is not tough to beat. Just touch the tongue and move up to the head and ground pound it. Note you have to be specific else you bounce off.
Okay, done with that, on to the next one.
Before we continue though, I might add that at almost any world except I think 2 you get this small driving scene. Kind of like a reverse rad racer. Simple enough, dodge incoming debris and make it to the end. Or reach the end of time. I never understood them really. Okay, World 4 in the trench. You know, where Spongebob and Patrick gets mustaches.
Actual mustaches. Weird.
Anyway, not much to say here other than one particularly annoying part in World 4-1. You see, in this stage, they decided to make the wind an enemy. Yeah, you know, like Ninja Gaiden 3. But he is just terrible beyond belief. You have to jump multiple ledges perfectly without falling once. And believe me, it's way harder than it looks. Damn! Damn! Damn!
This equals playing Zelda the very first dungeon and being thrown into Bloodborne the next one.
Okay, maybe not that bad, but the scaling in difficulty is terrible here. The bosses then is who else, and that's it for World 4. Next up is the gift shop. Yeah, remember that really sad scene from the movie? That's included here too. But like previous world, this one also has a theme. An annoying one at that.
Dehydration. Yeah. That is in the game.
Let me explain. In this world you have a bar which indicates how well hydrated you are, and if it hits the bottom, you're dead. In order to stay alive, you have to hit the fire alarms. Fuck!
Okay, that's hardly fair, but after World 4, you're kinda used to it.
And you probably guessed the boss is the Cyclops. You have to spray glue on his lens before he grabs you. Well, let's just hope it's glue for his sake. And now we're greeted to David Hasselhoff's hairy chest.
And yes, they even included the back writing.
Not much to say about it other than holy hell is it annoying. You have a very limited time to beat it. And the water keeps knocking you back. Anyway, we beat the level and gets to Dennis Returns.
So I guess I'll take the spaghetti dish, please. Oh, not that Dennis. I'm sorry.
He's also rather easy, and after you beat him we get the scene with the atomic breast shot of David Hasselhoff. By the way, isn't it funny that they only show his chest and ass?
No? Well, never mind then.
Right after Dennis we get this driving scene, but it's different. There's something funny about this. I mean, the expressions, the determination, it's just fun to look at. Okay, after some very similar stages to World 1, we are finally greeted by Neptune. Neptune attacks with beams of thunder, you have to avoid them, then he rushes through the stage, and I might say, despite it being a Mario clone, the precision is really difficult to master. I think it took me about 6 or 8 tries to hit him the first time. We beat the guy by poorly imitating the awesomeness of the Goofy Goober song.
It's embarrassing.
The game ends with a small cutscene thanking Spongebob and Patrick, followed by the credits, thanking the player. So basically a pat on the shoulder and the words "thank you, you did goodly." Something worth mentioning is there's a bonus world you can only open by finding the hidden door or doors.
But you can be my guest because I'm done with this game.
It's a poor Mario clone, the controls are somewhat clunky, the overall feel is not good. Feels more like a chore than actual fun, the end goal is just boring, there's little to none replayability, the password system is a joke. The overall enjoyment is pretty low. Some stages feels way more punishing than they should be. The racing stages, while being okay, is nothing great. And also they are kind of boring. Some platforming is just awful and some stages doesn't even have them. Points for diversity though, there's a lot of different mechanics that is interesting to see first time around. But it is the usual looks good on paper thing.
Overall, an okay-ish game. Not great, not recommendable.
Next up, SpongeBob the Movie the Game.
And I know what you're thinking, didn't I just play this game? Well, yes, but these two games of the very same name are completely different.
Let's put the game in and play. I'm using the Wii because reasons. Like any other SpongeBob game, it starts out with the logo of THQ.
Alright, let's get right into it. Unlike the other SpongeBob games that took roughly about 2 hours to complete, this, however, is a bit longer.
First stage, No Cheese, is basically based on the very first scene inside SpongeBob's mind.
Your mind.
So this time around, we actually have the French narrator telling us about the story.
Welcome to our little tale of woe, triumph against impossible odds.
As we start the game, we see that the graphics are pretty good for the time. Control-wise, it's self-explanatory. Move with the analog and the D-pad. Probably for PlayStation, I presume. Anyone who tries to use the GameCube D-pad to move, oh boy. You use A to jump and B to attack. Instead of using sponge transformations like True for Square, SpongeBob uses karate with red foam gloves and all.
Nice little nod to the series as a whole.
As you play the game, you'll notice that there's collectibles in shape of dumbbells.
Dumbbells.
And this is because...
You see, SpongeBob wants to grow up to be a man, and that is a big stereotype about being a man. Lifting dumbbells. This? 800 pounds? No biggie.
The dumbbells are to upgrade Patrick and Spongebob. Yeah, you control both this time around. I'll explain later how they mucked that up. As we play through the stage, there's buttons to press, platforms to jump, and more to make the game more challenging, I think.
Or, to drag most stages out, I guess.
There's even wall jump part, which isn't too bad. Think about Mario 64 and make it more difficult. And not so fluent. And you basically have this game. Once we complete the stage, we get a Goofy Goober token, which is similar to Mario Stars. Just more annoying. I'll get back to that. SpongeBob now wakes up and is depressed that he didn't get promoted. All of this is portrayed through images, with voices over them.
Sure, it's okay. I mean, it's GameCube and PlayStation 2. You would think they could either, I don't know, show part of the movie or make it into a CG cutscene. Never mind.
Next stage is basically the Goofy Goober bar, where we control Patrick in search of SpongeBob.
They play out very similar, except a few upgradable abilities, and well, this thing I found that is just weird.
SpongeBob can jump and spin, Patrick cannot.
Weird.
Anyway, we quickly begin to realize that the stage is rather stale and has an obnoxious music behind it.
It drives you mad after a while.
We are also getting some sweet action in the stage, some enemy cannons who launches out enemies similar to those in Truth or Square. And some areas Patrick has to put his tongue on ice to swing across the gap, similar to Ratchet and Clank's swing shot. Here we also see our first bonus objective, beat 100 enemies without dying.
Yeah, it's not as bad as you might think.
Unlike games like Dead Rising with a huge amount of enemies on screen, SpongeBob the movie the game can have about 10 on screen at once.
So really, it's just more time consuming than it is difficult.
After you collected enough Goofy Goober tokens, Mindy lets you get an upgrade.
The cartwheel move.
Yeah, of course it's called that.
What is really odd is that she wants the tokens to help you. I mean, what is that girl going to use them on anyway?
Never mind, it's not like it's going to be a blockade or anything like that throughout the game. Right?
You complete the stage by finding SpongeBob, getting a token, and by discovering this weird little porta potty thing.
And this is a flaw in the game.
You can change characters by using these. That isn't too bad, really.
No, the bad thing is that they usually are at the end of the stage or in places you really need to change.
Sadly enough, most levels are created for either SpongeBob or Patrick, meaning that you really can't go from A to B without being the appropriate character. Now, if they change midways, that would be another story, but usually at the start of the stage you get a new ability which is needed throughout the stage. We then get a cutscene portraying Krabs and
Being a horrible person. King Neptune zaps Mr. Krabs.
you know, the more you look at this, the more you wish it would be animated. You know, those children's books that are usually around movie premieres that literally takes pictures from the film and put text on it.
Yeah, you do. That's what these cutscenes feels like.
I never understood it. They get the license to make the game, but never the license to actually show the film. Anyway, the next stage is the driving stage with the Paddymobile, or was it the Paddy Wagon?
Don't let the paddy wagon take too much damage.
Why, thank you, Velma Dinkley ripoff. You are always there to help me. And steal my tokens.
The race is, well, to be honest, ass. It feels like those really bad racing games I reviewed some time ago. You press A to speed and B to reverse. Self-explanatory enough, but it also feels almost like you're ice skating. The ragging simply drifts way too much.
Also driving, I'm good at that. Shut up.
Oh, by the way, after you complete the stage, there's challenges. Whoop-de-fucking-doodle. There's time challenge and there's, get this, going through rings.
Yeah. Superman 64 ripoff.
While this is not the entire game, to be honest, Superman 64 isn't either. And this might be weird to say, but Superman 64 is fair compared to this. Let me explain. In Superman 64 you have about 4 to 5 minutes to go through all rings, and if you're not a complete moron, you usually have a minute to spare. Meaning, if you miss a ring, you can easily go back and get it a couple of times. Also, you can actually skip 1 or 2 rings.
This on the other hand.
You have exactly 5 seconds to each ring, and you can't stack time in any way. Also, miss a ring, game over. Drive too slow, game over. Make a wrong turn, game over. Okay, beat it, got 4 tokens now. And we're at level 4, simply called 3000 miles to Shell City. Fitting name because in a while that's how far you're going to throw this game.
But in all honesty, if it sounds like I'm bashing at the game or anything like that, it's only because of the second half of the game. The first 9 stages or so are okay. It's about halfway it gets tricky.
Well, in this stage, Spongebob gets the uppercut or the bash move. But here's the catch.
I can teach you, but you'll need more Goofy Goober tokens first.
I'm 1 token short.
And this is what monotonous backtracking looks like. So I decided to beat all racetrack tokens, you know, to get them out of the way early.
Meaning we can continue the game.
The uppercut or bash is actually rather stupid. You see these things? Press Y underneath them. Astonishing. There's even enemies you have to hit up their asses to beat, and balloons.
Wait, no, not balloons. Oh, great. Well, let's just fade to black until it's gone.
Yeah, when the puzzles are like this, you really have to move on. You have to beat up 3 radio towers to stop Plankton from broadcasting his brainwash waves.
I'm not kidding. SpongeBob knows of Plankton's plan about brainwashing people from the get-go, and yet he does nothing to stop it. Okay, he does destroy the towers, but you know what I mean.
Never mind plot holes now. We beat the stage and now it's time to... rub a dub slip slide in the top.
Wubba lubba dub dub!
Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but don't. That is the name, and we all got to live with it.
The stage is a giant slide down the okie dokie coral. The stage is rather amusing. You basically have to avoid enemies and traps, sort of like Rayman Legends. You know, those musical stages, just less amusing and less music, although the soundtrack in this stage is sort of kick-ass. I mean, come on, for children's games about a sponge, I like this.
I like it.
Of course, there are different routes you can take. Some leads to treasure, which contains bonus items, and others, well, they lead you off a cliff.
Next stage is Bubble Blowing Baby Hunt. This is the Fog Tug Boy, or whatever the name was. And on the contrary to the Game Boy game, this bar is actually really great. It features a lot of jumping, a lot of platforming, and almost unbeatable enemies, some kick-ass music. And is that a lava floor? Holy shit. Oh, and one of the challenges
Is disco. Fuck yeah, this is great.
And here we introduce to another challenge, which is Sponge Bowling.
And I'm tempted to say, SpongeBob Banana Blitz.
Because if you ever played Monkey Ball, it's sort of the same concept, although I have to say it's rather unforgiving towards new players. But nevertheless, I did it and beat the level. Next up, another racing stage called No Weenie Parking Anytime.
By now you might have noticed that the diversity in the game has significantly halted, meaning that the game only consists of 3 styles: puzzle platformer, slip and slide, and of course racing.
Of course, it's not a bad thing per se. I mean, there's literally a ton of different challenges in these levels. Anyway, the race is nothing new apart from it is lap based, meaning you have to find 4 keys in order to proceed.
And noteworthy, some keys only appear after a certain number of laps.
After the stage, we are introduced to the very first boss in the game, the Grandma Monster. Already now, it's a completely different game to the Game Boy counterpart.
Yeah, it has less bosses. Usually it's the other way around.
Basically beat the tongue until you can ground pound the head of the monster, as well as toss it over the edge. Similar to, well, Bowser in Mario 64 really.
To some extent, of course.
Before the next stage, we can clearly see that the images used in the cutscene is... well, certainly not from the movie.
And yeah, that is weird. But it gets weirder.
Next stage is called Rock Slide. And you might have guessed, it is a top slide stage. Nothing special apart from a variety of sea dwellers popping up to say hello. Moving on to the stage now that we're men.
I'm sorry, SpongeBob. You don't have enough Goofy Goober tokens for me to give you the Sponge Bowl.
What the hell? More fucking tokens? Well, I guess I'll be right back.
All those tokens to get a Spongeball ability.
I don't think the Spongebob has bowled in his entire life. Why this?
Also, every upgrade is portrayed by these nifty small photos, making them rather fun to upgrade just to see what has been altered. Except health, of course. I mean, that's just another patty. After a little exploring in the stage, you will end up with a wall jump challenge.
And this isn't like other challenges in the game where you get a token. No, this is a challenge as in too damn fucking titty tongue to go get past the challenging.
The problem here isn't the wall jump part, the problem is that you have to move forward in order to proceed. And this can be rather tricky.
Fuck! Come on! The game cut me a break. Thank God.
Here we have a wedgie challenge, based on the Hooks episode, I guess. Finally done. And we all now know when the stage is done, Minty tells us that we need more tokens.
You need more Goofy Goober tokens before I can teach you.
Well, shit. Time to farm.
Another challenge I found is this weird Mario-esque stage, you know, similar to something in Mario Galaxy. It's pretty damn tough, especially the later versions. Okay, done challenging myself. Now onto the stage, Shell City dead ahead, which I might admit.
This isn't part of the movie. You're in the outskirts of Shell City. And it's a dump.
One part I found extremely frustrating is this part, a bunch of enemies, some targets you have to hit, and no way of defeating the towers nor hit the buttons. I have to admit, I'm stuck.
So what can you do? Well, look up a walkthrough. Yeah, I actually had to do that. And here's what you have to do.
You have to stun the enemies next to you, then you have to throw them at the buttons, and then the towers. The reason this isn't self-explanatory is, first of all, in order to stun enemies you need the ground pound upgrade. Keep in mind, the ground pound never states that it can stun enemies, nor that that is something other abilities can do. And the last thing, but certainly not the least, the game have never been this cruel before, so why would you think that that was a thing you should do?
Let's call this unexplained bullshit and move on.
And we move on to the next stage, named Dennis.
Yes, this is in fact the second boss stage in the game.
A word of advice, upgrade your B attack so it can deflect the toilets. This makes the stage so much easier. We then move on to the capture of our heroes by the Cyclops, and we are now in Dreamworld.
Just like the first stage.
This time you have to stay close to the C-Nut. I think they call him a peanut, but that is just wrong.
The stage itself is boring as all hell, but it got some nice scenery.
Next stage is Googly Eyes and Smelly Knickknacks. Just an homage to the entire scene really. But the stage is actually a top slide, except you use Neptune's crown.
Points for consistency, guys.
The stage itself is rather annoying. You have to maneuver around the cables until the exit opens. Meanwhile, the Cyclops tries to jump scare you.
Oh, just give it up already. You're not Freddy Fazbear, it's not going to work.
And now we reach the best scene with David Hasselhoff.
I can take you there.
Who are you?
I'm not a lifeguard, but I play one on TV.
Okay, I'm starting to believe they didn't get the license to the movie at all, because who the hell is that joke? That isn't Hasselhoff. Who the hell is it?
It looks so poorly drawn that the only explanation outside of, well, it not being licensed is this must be the early development sketches they just colored and slapped inside the game.
Which is just weird.
And of course, as you might have guessed, Dennis makes a return, and here it's more than ever important to have upgraded that B button spin attack.
Otherwise you get your ass kicked.
Next stage is Plank Troublous.
And this is like the Zelda Bloodborne scenario I told you about earlier. Only 10 times worse.
Oh, also, not enough tokens. Great. Only problem, Minty the bitch doesn't want to tell me how many I need this time. Usually she tells me so I can get more or less through the stage. Oh well, I got 35, assuming I need 40, you know, a nice clean number. Okay, got 40, now to see if it's enough.
SpongeBob, you've got enough Goofy Goober tokens for me to teach you a new ability. You have a special power that you can use.
Well, thank you, you royal flounder ass bitch. Funny, I liked the character in the movie. Sort of, I mean, she wasn't annoying as such, but the game really makes her a nagging asshole.
Get more tokens, Spongebob. Get more tokens, Spongebob. Nyak, nyak, nyak. Anyway, this might be the most unforgiving stage in all of human history.
It was so bad that my capture card died and made my save file corrupt. Yeah, that is how bad it was.
The first thing is too many damn enemies. They are everywhere, have ridiculous range and shoot missiles. Yeah. Next up is this place. Oh god, I hate this place. Not only is it wall jump, not only is it timed wall jump, not only is it forward going wall jump, but there's also electricity. You think that's fucking enough?
Oh, I know. How about adding a gang of sharks shooting lasers at you? Or how about a quicksand monster made entirely of coffee beans? No, I know. How about making one tiny pixel in the entire stage the only safe spot? Everywhere else, you die instantly. Oh, my mistake. You did that already!
Anyway, after this insane ridiculous part, we get to the next insane ridiculous part. Great! This is even worse. Treadmill over lava where you have to use the guitar homing missile. The new attack that Mindy the bitch gave you, it makes Spongebob stand completely still, meaning if you take too long to beating something, you die.
Forget Dark Souls. SpongeBob the movie the game is way more hardcore and challenging.
Only sane thing you can do is upgrade the Spongebob ability to make a force field that might hit the button for you, making it somewhat easier. It doesn't help that much. Then we have a mini-boss, Shoot Plankton's Eye, and well, this is ass as well. After that insane eye-pinching difficult part, we get to the next hair-ripping, dick-punching, insane asylum level difficult part. You have to jump through a shit ton of enemies while trying to avoid being hit into the lava.
Easy!
Okay, now my recording started to work again. And this is even worse, moving pillars to wall jump across while they stay down half a fucking second.
Please, creators of this game, let me fight invisible flying shark shooting rays of insta-death instead of this bullshit.
After an eternity, we are finally through this part, and guess what's next?
More insane difficult parts, of course.
This time you have 4 chances to get through a maze of treadmills in order to get to the final part. But there's like a shit ton of enemies that doesn't know what hit detection is.
Come on, I did hit it back. Stupid random game mechanics.
Okay, finally when you're done with that stupid part, we get to the final boss of the stage.
And just take a guess at what it is.
A giant plankton statue yet again. This time there's 2 sets of treadmills, each going in opposite directions. So the mechanics is, stand right at the edge of one of them, use your guitar sonic boom. Rinse and repeat until you're done. Note, it might take a few tries to get the rhythm correct. And now we are at the second last stage, and I swear, oh god, I swear, if Mandy as much as hints at...
I think I can bring it back, but you'll need more Goofy Goober tokens. Come back as soon as you can.
That's it, I'm done. Can't take this piece of crap anymore, it's stupid. I said it's stupid. Okay. Let's continue.
This time around you'll need 50 fucking tokens, and to get them, it includes beating about 90% of the game.
Imagine in Super Mario 64 if you had to get 205 stars in order to fight Bowser. I think it's like 70 stars or something like that. I mean, that's way more reasonable.
But 90%? Imagine if you wanted to face off Ragnaros, but you needed 90% of the classic achievements in order to do so.
It's insane, and to top it off, the last tokens you need are often the most difficult ones to get.
Meaning we got an insane trampoline jump over lava, which has a specific route you'll need to go. Trial and error style, of course. Damn! Well, obviously wrong way.
And you might remember me briefly drawing similarities between this and Superman 64. But what if I told you that 5 challenges in this game are actually Superman 64?
Yeah, no joke, you have to use the sonic wave to go through rings with a limited time. The rings stay up for about 5 to 6 seconds and the wave 1 second less.
Basically, this is Superman 64 on hard mode.
Yeah, I'm not kidding, you have to go through the rings for 5 to 6 minutes. Remembering the course, making the right turns, be precise as fuck, or it's game over, bitch.
Fuck it.
Okay, done with those annoying last missions, and now the paddy wagon is resurrected.
SpongeBob, you've got enough Goofy Goober tokens for me to bring back the paddy wagon.
I do? Oh, that's great.
Meaning, we can get a fucking move on.
I swear, if Mindy one more time tells me I need all the tokens in order to face off against the boss, I'm going to destroy every living copy of this game.
No, I better not. It'll just get a remake.
Okay, done with this. Now, on to the boss.
And as you might have guessed,
It's unfair beyond belief. You have to turn these tables in order to beat him, while avoiding insane laser beams, and by the way, in order for Neptune to be vulnerable, you have to dodge the beams 3 times in a row. Get hit once, this cycle starts over.
that's fair.
One plus though is the guitar solo. I mean, come on, that is just kick-ass. Once you have evaded 3 times, Neptune goes all sniper on you and you have to deflect the beam and then hit him with the guitar wave.
Which I might add, you can fail at doing so.
The more health you deplete from him, the harder it gets to avoid the beams and random enemies that now spawn. Once you get him down to 1/3 of his health, the Goofy Goober rock begins to play, which is pretty damn awesome. I must admit, the song makes it way easier to dodge all the shit on the screen. And now we get the usual thanks to SpongeBob and the credits. Just to compare, this part where SpongeBob rocks is way better than the Game Boy version.
Just sucks.
Anyway, the game is good for what it is. Difficult doesn't equal bad, nor does it always equal good. The game has its flaws. For instance, once I tried the top slide time challenge, I think it speaks for itself. At first, the game is a lot of fun, a lot of variety, but the gated token walls is just terrible. You basically have to beat the entire game and everything in it just to see the credits. The controls are nothing special. Some things are great, while others, like the wall jump, are complete garbage. The Goofy Goober song at the end though makes it all worth it in my opinion. But to make a better game, I would say maybe the challenge should have been unlocked after the end boss, you know, to open up a secret stage or something.
Anyway, that is SpongeBob the movie, the game. Decent at best, frustratingly annoying at worst. I'm the Angrynator terminating bad video games for your entertainment.
Wubba lubba dub dub!